A wise old lawyer once told me before I was going into law school, you're not going to get rich being a lawyer, but you'll make a good living. But what's that mean for a law firm owner, a small business owner who practices law? What's a good living? Let's talk about that. Law Firm Owner Compensation 101. Let's get into it. The first and most helpful thing that most small business owners can draw off of is the rule of thirds. So the rule of thirds is that you've got about a third of your top line or gross income coming in to you as the business owner in terms of compensation. The next third is for people, employees, salaries, contractors, anything to do with people. And that would include things like benefits, health insurance, or things like that as well. And then the final third would be for other overhead. So overhead for supplies, rent, things like that. So that rule of thirds is generally a very helpful one because most small businesses can kind of, grasp that. It's easy. So let's start there. So that's where to start with law firm owner compensation. Now, if you're a solo lawyer, then that rule of thirds is going to look a lot different than if you even have 2 or 3 or 4 employees. What I just described, for the rule of thirds works well for one thing that you're going to see when you're first starting out as a firm and you don't have a lot of employees is that your owner compensation percentage is going to be way higher, right? It's going to be somewhere closer to like 80%, or it should be, as long as you're keeping your expenses low. So really your expenses should probably, be less than a third of your overall gross income if you're just a solo with maybe a contractor or 2 helping you in the business side of things. So moving up from a solo or moving up from around $100,000, a year in terms of money that's coming in. When you start getting up into more of the, gross income being, it's about a $500,000 business, something in there. So you might have 2 to 5 employees, let's say. Some of those are attorneys, maybe it's not very many attorneys and mostly staff, depending on your practice area. So let's say we're in that kind of scenario. That's when the rule of thirds really probably hits its golden thing. You've got about a third going to employees, staff, other attorneys. You've got about a third of the profit that should be profit to the owner. And so that rule of thirds really hits that $500,000 mark or right around there pretty well. So the rule of thirds starts getting a lot more difficult to just have it be that simple and just in your head. Once you start getting to the kind of $1 to $2 million mark in terms of revenue into your business, this is when you start seeing the need to grow in terms of employees, maybe the need to grow in terms of practice areas, or maybe, it's just you're hitting such a scenario where you need to pay your people more. And so you find yourself drifting down on the amount of profit that you're willing to either invest back into the business or bring home as the business owner. So these are some of the challenges that you may run into. Now, if you want to get into kind of the nitty gritty, the numbers and kind of some of a little bit more researchy behind this as well, look at From Panic to Profit. That's a book by Brooke Lively. And it's a great book for the numbers on this. It walks you through, some of these kind of different levels that I've been talking about, but I'm just giving you kind of my opinion on where I've landed as a law firm owner as I've gone through these steps as well. So that's kind of the stair-step approach, or kind of what that rule of thirds looks like in those various stages or areas of your small law firm. But the real question now is, how do we implement this? So what does it look like to be able to succeed in making sure you're bringing enough profit home for you as the law firm owner? A really important distinction to make for this is you need to differentiate your profit for this firm, this business, from your day-to-day work as a lawyer in the business, or even your day-to-day work just in the firm doing the other kind of administrative tasks that you do. You should every so often ask yourself this question: how much would I have to pay someone to do the job that I am doing at my law firm every day? And when you answer that question, first of all, it's going to be pretty eye-opening. Second of all, it's going to answer the question of what is actually profit versus what am I actually paying someone to do? Do I just own my own job, or do I own a business that makes a profit? Because that's what we want. Whether we're in it to get a lot of money or just make a good living, like my old law firm, lawyer friend said before I even got into the business, you'll make a good living. But what does that look like? So for me, what it meant was asking myself the question of, okay, how much am I paying a lawyer to do the lawyerly stuff I'm doing, to handle these cases and do this lawyer work? And if I paid someone that salary, or if I'm paying myself that exact salary as a salary and not as a law firm owner draw or profit, then that's where I can start to kind of be honest with myself as a law firm owner and say, okay, that's what the profit is for this business. In terms of salary versus draw, most small law firms are going to be an S corp or something that's a pass-through entity. It's going to be a professional corporation, an LLC, something of that nature, where the law firm owner is going to be the one who's really responsible for paying the taxes, unless you're running it as a strict corporation. So once you figured that out and you're honest about kind of the salary, the reasonable compensation you're assigning to your role as the lawyer or something other than the business owner itself, then you can say, okay, what's this profit? What do I need to do to increase that profit? Because profit is beyond your salary for you doing the specific type of lawyerly work you do in your firm. Even law firm owners don't get a pass on math. We don't earn a salary by sitting around and drinking coffee in our office and just putting on a nice face for our employees. That's just not what we do. We grind and we work and we make sure that this is a profitable business and that it's something that is beyond just us or just beyond, just our personality. So once you have kind of the rule of thirds in place and kind of have some percentages lined out for you in your firm, and those match up to the type of income that you're looking to have just personally and for your own life, then you can take a lot of the emotion out of some of the financial decisions for your firm. You don't have to, base your decision on a gut feeling, the number in your bank account, or just on, how you feel about a particular employee or something like that. This is something that you can consistently monitor and see, where am I then on the expenses, on the stuff? Where am I on, the people side of things? And am I providing what I need to provide for my people? And am I gaining enough benefit from this company, from this business? The last thing that this really does to help you as a business owner is to put yourself in a position where you can describe to a potential buyer or to a potential partner, if you're looking to partner up with someone, with another lawyer, is to say, okay, so here's what the overall profit is. If we just step out of this completely, here's what the profit for the firm actually is. Because remember, the overall gross number or top line income for your firm is not what it's worth. It's only worth the profit that's left over after everything else. So you could be running a $5 million, $10 million law firm, and you could be taking home maybe just a kind of regular attorney salary out of that. And that's not profitable. No one's going to want to buy that. And this is what I looked at when I was purchasing my law firm, is what was the profit in the profit margin for the last several years, and basically averaging that out, multiplying it by about 4 or 5x. That ends up being typically the sale price for a small law firm, for most small companies. In fact, you look at that gross number and you want to make sure there's enough coming in, but you got to look at, okay, what is the actual operational profit that comes in at the end of the day, that can be profit for the law firm owner, and timesing that times 4 or 5 ends up being kind of, basically a good solid number for purchasing that small business. And remember, I'll reiterate that your salary, your reasonable salary within the law firm, doesn't count for that. It's It's beyond that. So I know that if you're watching this video, it means you're concerned about being a law firm owner, being the owner of a small business that makes a profit, not just owning your own job. You want to make your firm something that goes beyond yourself and is successful. And so I'm excited for you. I hope I can keep walking you through this. And please like and subscribe this video so that you can check in for more helpful information in the future. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time.